Alexander.
Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of the My Movie Fix podcast. I'm your host, Sir, and this is my safe place. I love talking about movies, and this is the place where I get my fix. Today, my guest to help me do so is none other than Brandon from the SpacecloudE podcast. Hey, Mr. Brandon, I want you to take a second to introduce yourself and let the people know about your podcast.
We kind of we like to bring to light any sort of uncommon things going on. Like you might have a conspiracy theory or oddball news story or something that doesn't really get all the kind of attention that we think is interesting. We try to talk about that, and usually we get a good laugh out of it. And most of the time, we just kind of get sidetracked and end up just speaking our minds about whatever's going on. And it becomes a bit of a catch-all, but, we're doing our best to stay on track and bring some interesting topics to light.
Indeed. All right. Well, that sounds like your bag. Check it out. Again, that's the SpacecloudE, SpacecloudE, and it's going to be a capital E podcast. It's available on Spotify and pretty much wherever you get your podcast fixes.
Yeah, the E stands for whatever it is you want to make it stand for.
All right. Tonight on the podcast, we're going to start as usual with our movie fixes, the How You Like Them Apples section, where we let off some movie takes we've been holding on to. Then we move on to our recommendations, followed by a full review, and then, of course, our usual send-off. Today's episode is none other than Nicolas Cage's new release, Pig.
Yes.
Be sure to listen in. Obviously, you can if you click the link, you know this is about Pig. So hopefully you watched it. If not, listen to our thoughts on it. But yeah, Brandon, you are our guest. So I'm going to give you the inaugural send-off. How you like them apples? What is your hot take?
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
Well, my hot take is that Ridley Scott, okay, filmmaker, he's pretty highly praised. I mean, even among his brother Tony, who was also who actually passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. But even among just his sibling, considered the better sibling as far as filmmakers go, directors, and well, seems to be pretty well respected. But I kind of feel like he's overrated. I feel like he's too high praised, and he had a couple good sci-fi. I mean, we have Alien and we have Blade Runner, and then it kind of goes downhill from there. And I feel like
he's made like 50 movies. You got to give him more credit than just Alien and Blade Runner.
He did.
Probably one of my favorite movies of all time, Gladiator. He's responsible for that.
Yeah, he's responsible for Gladiator. He did American Gangster. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Why do you think he's overrated? Let your take off.
Why do I think he's overrated? Because I feel like he's really rode the success of of Alien and Blade Runner, and he's really been, he has two sci-fi staples. Those are staples. Those are classics. Those are great movies. Don't get me wrong. But then he's kind of rode that, like, what did he do after that? Legend? That was, I mean, aside from Tim Curry as the devil, he gets, I think, Tom Cruise, harpoons him with some, caribou horn or something at the end. That's how he dies? I don't even remember. That was, aside from Tim Curry, who was an amazing villain in that and chewed the scenery, he's kind of the best character in a bad movie. I think that was his follow-up after Blade Runner, and that was a stinker. And then I feel like people have been waiting, and he did have Gladiator, which came, at the turn of the new millennium there, and so, there was that, but then I feel like Okay, again, so then he did Alien and he did Blade Runner, and then he had a slew of like mediocre movies, and everyone was kind of waiting for him to make a good one again. Then he did Gladiator in 2000. It's like, okay, new millennium, new Ridley Scott. We're going to get consistency, and then it's just kind of been more mediocrity ever since.
Yeah, I'm going through his looking at his filmography right now. I gotta give him Alien, a certified classic, Blade Runner, certified classic, Thelma and Louise, certified classic,
Oh, Thelma and
Gladiator,
Louise, absolutely. I forgot
certified
about that one.
classic. Gotta give him Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, Black Hawk Down. It's not a
Yeah.
bad. I never got deeply. I didn't take that as much as I thought I would. I got to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, just as far as the name,
Hi,
he's got hits. You know,
he's
like I
got
said,
some hits,
yeah,
but they're spread out.
I'll
They're
give you
spread
that.
out.
The middle ground, is when you start getting to the Alien Covenants, it's not great.
Oh, Alien Covenant, man.
But
It's like he can't even. He's like trying to emulate his own success and failing at it. It's like Ridley Scott. He can't even. Does he even know what he did to make Alien good? It's like because he can't seem to replicate that for the life of him.
I don't know, time will tell. I know House of Gucci. Everyone is looking forward to that one. It made a whole lot of buzz. The trailer, a whole lot of buzz on it. So I'm definitely interested to see how that turns out.
Yeah, what was his last one? Was that he did? Was that All the Money in the
Wait,
World?
yeah, I know the most recent one is the TV show I saw, Raised by Wolves. I think he just did the first
Oh
episode,
yeah,
if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken. Yes, that's one. I think the direction is the best part of that show, but it didn't really hit for me. So yeah, I understand your feeling of him being kind of hit or miss, but I think so far as directors goes, his name is he's
Yeah,
certified.
he's certified, but he can be very hit or miss, and it's
Mhm.
almost like I almost would wager he's in like that Michael Mann category.
Ooh,
Michael Mann had like he did Heat, and then he did The Insider, and those were like two big hits. And then people have kind of been waiting ever since for him to get back to making another really good movie, and
indeed.
it's not happened.
Indeed. Well, we will see with House of Gucci if he can make a comeback in your eyes. But I'm not going to
I,
give you too much pushback because my fix is very similar. I just, I was thinking I was watching something with the Oscars recap, and everybody kept giving so much praise for the father, Anthony Hopkins movie, and my movie fix, my take, my rant this week is very similar to yours because I think that movie is just overrated. I didn't get the love for it. I thought it was fine. I think Anthony Hopkins is a great actor, but the movie
absolutely.
just didn't land for me the way it did with so many other people. It's just the deep amount of love people had for it, and oh my gosh, this is definitely Oscar worthy, and I understand why Chadwick Boseman didn't win because the father was just so great and blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he won Best Actor, so I guess I'm with him there to where the movie wasn't Best Picture worthy. He got Best Actor, not Best Picture, but I don't know the movie. It just seemed the plot didn't really. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the plot really didn't work for me because it basically was all about him having Alzheimer's and him getting confused as to the timeline. But the way the movie was filmed, like sometimes he was clearly something, I guess it was acting out something in the past, but he was remembering a future event. Like the timeline of how he could have been confused, the way he was confused didn't really work for me. I really think it would have worked better as like a sci-fi where it did kind of lean into the sci-fi territory. But I don't know, I didn't really like The Father. And so that's my movie fix. That's my pushback because I don't, like I said, people loved it, and I give Anthony credit. I think he did fine in it. I just don't think it was the amazing career-defining movie that people made it out to be.
I can't really. I haven't seen that. I just looked it up.
Mm,
This is actually the first I'm really hearing about it. Honestly, I kind of avoided the Oscars this year.
mm,
Anthony Hopkins in the past has been a brilliant actor,
you know,
one of the best of all time.
in the movie, I give him his credit. You know, he did what the role asked of him. I just don't think. I think I've seen Anthony Hopkins do better in other things. I just didn't. I didn't watch that and think, oh my gosh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Give him all the Oscars. This movie is the best. Blah 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 blah. You know.
Yeah, I wonder if there becomes a point though where it's kind of like it's Anthony Hopkins, and you kind of have a certain expectation, and if he doesn't quite deliver that, then you're like,
well, there you go.
maybe they don't deserve that. You know?
So I'm giving Anthony Hopkins your Ridley Scott treatment. You know, it's fine, but you got to knock it out of the park for me to be impressed. You know.
That's where he's at, though. That's fair enough. That's where he's at.
Indeed. Okay. Well, I don't want to be too much of a downer. So we both had overrated takes. So I'm not going to press on that. You know. So those are our thoughts. Those are our fixes this week. But moving on to the recommendation section. Do you have a movie, TV show, something you saw recently that you want to recommend folks check out, or just something you want to discuss?
Recently, I've been watching the TV series Mr. Mercedes, starring Brendan Gleeson, based on the Stephen King novel of the same name.
Never heard of this. Tell me more about it.
It's based off emotionally disturbed young. I'm not sure how old he is. He might be late 20s, maybe 30, judging by who they've casted. Maybe they're trying for him to be younger, but that's the intention I've got. And he's like a kind of a tech wizard, and he hacks this lady's car, and then it's a Mercedes, and he uses it to run over a bunch of people and cause a mass murder at a job fair. And then Brendan Gleeson is this private detective who takes it he's kind of got a bit of an obsessive. He's a retired police officer, and he's known for getting too involved in his cases. And he's kind of drowning in like a despair and kind of finding a new purpose in life since retiring. And so he really gets and delves deep into this Mercedes killer, and he gets more involved than he should, but it makes it somewhat compelling. They also do there's a bit of a sympathetic. They try to make you somewhat sympathetic towards the killer and his life situations, and they keep you between Brendan Gleeson's character and between the Mercedes killer. They kind of go back and forth between their struggles, and there's a little bit of pushback between. It's not always clear who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
I'm looking it up now because I've never heard of it, but it's on Peacock, so I'm guessing that's why. Because I certainly don't have Peacock. But I mean, I'm a big fan of Brendan Gleeson. You know, he's dope. I love his son, Domhnall Gleeson. I think Calvary, 2014 Calvary. I think that's my favorite role from Brendan Gleeson. So, so is it good? Is it worth checking out? Because I don't know. Is it worth getting Peacock to check out Mr. Mercedes? That's a big question.
It was streaming for me on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm just going off of Google. So if it's on Amazon
maybe
Prime,
I don't know. Maybe it's. I'm in Canada here, so maybe it's different. I don't know, but I would. I mean, it's kept my interest. I don't think it's the greatest series by any means, but it's compelling enough, and it will do its best to keep you watching.
All right, well, that's a strong recommendation.
I would give it
do its best.
I would. Well, I believe it's got about a. I can't remember how they rate it, whether it's IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes on Amazon Prime, but it's got about a 71%, which is about like a 7 out of 10, and that's where I'd rate it. Is like a 7 out of 10.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's not bad, you know. So I may check it out if it's available on Amazon Prime. I doubt I'll sign up for Peacock for a 7 out of 10, but it's available on Amazon Prime, and I'll check it out.
I would not sign up for Peacock to watch that.
Indeed. All right, my recommendation is a pretty lazy one. Haven't been watching too much TV. Been watching movies more than anything, but the TV I have been watching has been comfort TV. TV I've seen before 1,000 times, and I can really enjoy. So, without further ado, I've been watching New Girl on Netflix. That's my comfort food. That is a good show. I know a lot of people hate on Friends, but Friends was one of my go-tos. I watched, every season. I loved all of that. And New Girl kind of fills that gap for me. Something I've watched, I really enjoyed, but then I can go back and rewatch, and I can fall asleep watching too, and it still makes me laugh. Especially those first 2 seasons. It's really funny. It's really good. It's charming, I guess. And I know Zoe Deschanel's stick has kind of gotten old and gotten kind of cliche since she started, but I don't know. It's good TV. It's really good writing. I really enjoy it. I really like the Nick Miller character. So it's just, I don't know. New Girl is just quality TV that I can go back and rewatch and not feel guilty about, and it puts me to sleep because it's quality rewatch TV. Have you watched it?
I have. I saw. I actually watched it. I watched a few episodes when it originally aired. I don't really remember why I stopped watching it because I remember enjoying it. It's very much, yeah. It's comfy. It's cozy. It's cutesy. It had me laughing too, like more than I thought I would laugh at it. It's a solid comfort thing when you're just looking to get a couple of laughs at it.
It's pretty rare for me to have a show that I literally laugh out loud to. There's a lot of comedies that I find amusing. I think they're funny intellectually, but I'm not going to actually laugh out loud. But Community, as I said, this New Girl, it's a show that I will actually laugh out loud. I will find funny, and
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's rare. And when you find it, you got to dig in. And like I said, so there's a whole bunch of TV out. Like I said, Mr. Mercedes just got added to my list. So there's so much that I can watch, but when it's 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, you got to get up at 7 in the morning the next day, and you want to find something to just throw on. You don't want to dig into something too deep and too new. Sometimes you want that comfort food where you know what you're getting and you enjoy it, and that's New Girl for me. So I recommend, if you never gave it a try, I recommend you give New Girl a shot. So.
Absolutely. That's definitely the thing too. Like, I've been watching this Mr. Mercedes, and then it starts to get late, and I'm like, I want to see the next episode, and then I'm worried about falling asleep in the middle of it. And like, New Girl is like, okay, that helps you. Like, it gives you that comfort, and you're like okay with sleeping. You know what I mean?
Yes, especially if it's something you've seen before. You're not, even if you're enjoying it, you're not going to be upset that you fell asleep and you have to go back and find your place or whatever, because you've seen it before. You're just enjoying yourself and put you to sleep, and that's it.
Yeah, that's often a forgotten thing about certain TV shows. You don't want to get too invested in this big developing story. You just want a little comfort, and it helps put you to sleep. And New Girl is absolutely that show.
Indeed. Okay. Well, those are our recommendations. And so, obviously, the next step, without further ado, the reason you guys came here to listen.
I'm looking for a truffle pig. Someone stole her.
I don't understand.
Tell me who you are.
You made the right choice, being out there in the woods. There's nothing here for you anymore. There's really nothing here for most of us. Buy yourself a new pig.
All right, that was from the trailer for Pig. I want to talk about Nicolas Cage in general, and then I'm going to talk about Neon, because this is a Neon film. Neon's one of those studios where that they put in the legwork. That it's to the point where if I see a Neon logo, I know it's something I'm probably going to want to see. Like A24, they make a certain type of film that I know is going to be interesting, and maybe not big budget or whatever, but it's going to be something worth checking out. And they made who was it? Parasite, obviously the big winner, and then Colossal. I think that was their first one. I really enjoyed that one. Bodied. We actually on the Surge movie, we did an episode on Body, Joseph Kahn's battle rap movie a couple years ago. So they made a portion of Lady on Fire, I, Tanya. And then this, I don't know if it was German, the movie Border. That was a really interesting one. So I mean, they make like dope movies that have something to say, and the fact that it was a Neon movie got me in general. And then obviously in a second we can talk about Nicolas Cage though. So what do you think about Neon movies? Do you care? Is that something that rings true to you, what I just said, or is that
I'm not. I didn't know they did Parasite. I honestly am not too familiar with Neon. I'm usually up and up on movie studios, and I recognize the logo when I see like Blumhouse or Bloomhouse
Hmm.
or see
Yeah.
like Lionsgate. I'm like kind of like, oh, I know what I'm in for. It's going to be like mediocre schlock fest at best. But I'm not too familiar with Neon. Parasite.
Yeah.
I
Oh, so I'm looking into because it was one of their movies, but I guess Bong Joon Ho made it, but Neon just acquired the rights, so I guess that's a little wonky, but
okay.
that's why it shows up on their list. But again,
Okay,
reason they
well,
bought it means it's their type of movie, so I want to clarify that. So maybe some of
oh,
these aren't Neon originals, but
but
Neon is the distributor. So
right, yeah, if it's their type of movie, so they bought the rights to. Hey, that kind of qualifies it being their movie, something that they would put out. They just didn't, so then they acquired the rights after the fact. Yeah, like I said, Parasite was. I didn't mind Parasite. I didn't love it the way I think it got so much praise, but this has kind of been a theme this episode. We're talking about overratedness.
what about Nick Cage? What are your thoughts on, he's been very, I don't know, polarizing is the right word because he's done some real interesting stuff lately, but I mean, he's still one of them. Like he's done a lot of movies that I absolutely love. So
Nick
what are your thoughts on him in
Cage.
general?
I freaking love Nick Cage. I think he's brilliant. I think he's genius. I think Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage. Has always been Nicolas Cage. Will never stop being Nicolas Cage. And this really was there was a little while there. Well, a little while there, probably like 10, 15 years. He was doing all those. This is another one-word Nicolas Cage movie that I was a little bit hesitant about, but Nick Cage, he's back. He is back. I'm saying it right now. Nick Cage is back. The Nick Cage. I gotta say, one of my favorite performances is Vampire's Kiss.
Mm.
Well, it's a bit of a cult classic. Some people, I think it took so long for people to recognize it as the type of genius movie that it is. At first, it was taken in a different context than it was meant, and it's just Nick Cage, and he's just at his zaniest, and he's doing things that Jim Carrey was getting praised for, like in Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber, and that was like, and we're talking this was like '88, and Jim Carrey comes in like what '94 or whatever. So this Nick Cage is well right there ahead of his time, and he gives his all. Like sometimes some of his movies, especially recently, have just been
Yeah.
unwatchable almost, and just unfortunate that he can't seem to be disciplined enough to, having blown all his money and all the ridiculous stories with the stuff he had, but not even talking about Nick Cage the man, just Nick Cage. Well, maybe they're one and the same. I have no idea. He kind of seems zany all the time, judging by the things we've heard, but Nick Cage, Leaving Las Vegas, adaptation. What else did he get? I think Moonstruck. Was he
Yeah.
like
I mean,
he's
he's been
been
a lot of just
nominated?
like certified awesome movies.
Yeah, and he's been
Face Off's got to be my favorite.
Face Off. Oh
Even
man,
the National Treasures, those have been, if not great movies, they're watchable. They're certified. I keep using the word certified, but they're quality franchise movies. Just stuff that you can watch all the way through on an afternoon. Some movies are just
yeah,
so bad you don't want to rewatch, and some movies, are so good that you got to actually sit down and dedicate time to watch
yeah,
them. But National Treasure, just a movie you can throw on Tuesday, and it's fun. You can kind of pay attention to it,
yeah.
enjoy the things, and you're enjoying yourself. But
I
he's
think.
done some really like adaptations. Probably my favorite of him. It's probably one of the best. I don't know, 10 movies I've ever seen. Period. So it's like
Oh yeah,
he's got a great filmography. But as you were saying, I'm going through the list now. He's probably done, I don't know, 35 movies in the last 10 years. He's just cranking them out right now. So
yeah. All those one word straight to Netflix.
people have been talking about him lately. I heard people talk about how bad jujitsu is, but it's still something that he gave his all to, and he's fully committed to the role. And I heard people. The reason I watched Pig is because people said, like you were saying, he's back. It's an actual, good movie, and it's something people you got to check out. And Nick Cage is back doing Nick Cage, and blah blah blah. So that's why I checked it out. But I mean, I'm looking at the past, ever stuff he's made since 2019 stuff I didn't check out, had no interest in. I heard Mandy's awesome, but I never actually watched Mandy. But it's just one of those things where I know he's going crazy and balls to the wall, and I should watch it, but it's just he's so hit or miss. I don't want to, I don't want to get my hopes up.
He elevates everything he's in, but there's some things that even he just can't save. He does his damnedest, but that's just like, sometimes it's like, I appreciate that he gives it his all the time, but sometimes it's like, nah, you kind of wasted your time here because there's nothing here.
And I didn't. So let's get into Pig and discuss what Pig is. So, without, like I said, this is the non-spoiler section, so we're not going to give too much away, but how do I phrase it? This was described to me as a John Wick-esque movie, which is kind of what got me intrigued, I guess is the word I'll use. But actually watching the movie, not so much. The only real similarity, I don't think this is a spoiler because the movie's called Pig, but 10 minutes into the movie, his pet pig gets kidnapped. So that's kind of what sets the whole movie off. And I guess that's where the similarities to John Wick kind of come from. But this isn't that. This isn't really that at all. So, like I said, basic premise, there's a guy, he's a truffle farmer out in the middle of the wild. He has a pet pig, pet gets kidnapped, and the rest of the movie is him trying to get the pig back. So
right.
Without getting spoilers, that's what it's about. So that said, what are your thoughts on Pig? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? What are your thoughts on it?
Just that John Wick reference, I did not hear that, but I kind of see the similar approach, like the narrative, like John Wick, the dog gets killed and he's avenging the dog, and then the pig just gets kidnapped, so he's just trying to find the pig. He's not really avenging its death or anything like that.
Yeah. And we'll definitely have to dig into that on spoilers because I have some thoughts, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's some definite thoughts there, but that's Pig overall, I thought it was, there's, first of all, just solely, so we were talking about Nick Cage, and there's a scene there, I think, where him and the other guy are just, I think, about to get back into the car, and Nick Cage was just at his best, where he just kind of has this, like, just this eruption, like this explosion, where he's like, he looks fine, and you think he's just gonna, like, just be chill, and then he just erupts, and it's in only the way that Nick Cage can do that, and it's just, and that was the moment where I was just like, yeah, he's back. Yeah, that's the Nick Cage. And this was, go ahead, yeah.
It's really interesting to me how he, for the longest time, was known for being sort of like Jim Carrey-esque, wild and crazy and doing, just being a weird type of guy. But in this era of, it's really, he has gravitas, he's got because of who he is, he comes with that, I don't know, seriousness. He comes with that,
reputation.
Yeah, he just got depth, D-E-P-T, depth.
Yeah, he's got that air to him. Kind of. Yeah, his reputation precedes him. Yeah,
we'll get to specific scenes a little bit later, but it's like some of these scenes, it's like he's not doing much, but because I know it's Nick Cage and because his eyes, and he just, like, he sells it. I'm sold. I fully believe I'm looking at, Rob, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's really good in this movie.
He is very good in this movie, and he really, like I said, he can elevate even a bad movie, but this time he had something that he could, like, sink his teeth into, and it was also something that was giving back to him. Like he was driving. It was a Nick Cage vehicle, but like this vehicle had passengers, and they knew their destination. Yeah.
Speaking of this, I think his co-star here, Alex Wolff, guy from Hereditary. He was the son in Hereditary, and
Oh
I
yeah.
I don't think he, I don't know. I think he was fine. I think he played. Well, I guess I was about to say he seemed kind of the word coming to mind is insufficient, but it's like he didn't have that, like I'm talking about, the gravitas that Nick Cage brought to the role. But I guess that's part of who he was supposed to be. So I guess I got to give him credit for that, because he played kind of a naive, guy trying to be tougher than he is and trying to kind of thinking he's a grown up when he's really just a kid kind of character. And I mean, he did that well. So I feel like he didn't necessarily stand out to me as much as Nicolas Cage did. But I mean, I feel like I did like him in it, but I hated Hereditary. So I feel like there's baggage on that for me. But I did like Alex Wolff and Adam Arkin. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I know him best from being a therapist in The West Wing. Speaking of shows that I love to rewatch, The West Wing is an awesome show. I really loved it. And it didn't make me laugh out loud, but it made me pause to give credit to the writing out loud, whatever that means.
That's
The West Wing had just, I don't know, amazing writing.
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, so that's why I remember him, because I really like The West Wing. So that's why I remember him. He's the therapist. After President gets shot, he's the therapist, comes in, and not the President gets shot. Josh Lyman gets shot. He's that guy's therapist and the President's therapist. So that's where you know him from. But Nick Cage did have some actors to bounce off of and to work with, and those three were kind of the main characters of this movie. And that's probably a spoiler to even say that much, but yeah, I do think he wasn't just in here with a lot of no-name actors as he does kind of sometimes in his movies, but. So yeah, I think he acted his butt off. What do you think about the plot in general? What do you think about kind of what happens in this movie and where it goes?
It's not the strongest plot. I think it's not the strongest plot. It's not the best plot, but it keeps it tight. It's very tight, and it knows where it's going, and it's really well carried by Nicolas Cage, of course, and then, like we said, you got Adam Arkin and Alex Wolff, who he does his job. I mean, he doesn't have he didn't have too much to do, but he helped. He was someone for Nick Cage to bounce off of, and he was there, and he was doing what he needed to do as the character, and even as an actor. Maybe he was a bit starstruck, I don't know, but I thought he did all right job. And the movie, I felt like Alex Wolff, his character, also needed to take a back seat, and he did that well, because those Nicolas Cage and Adam Arkin were two kind of very strong personalities in own ways. There's kind of like a darkness and like a subtlety, but you kind of have this. They have this screen presence, kind of, where they just you feel what's going on without them even saying a word.
Yeah, it's really hard to talk about this movie without getting into spoilers. So the non-spoiler section will probably be pretty quick this week, but basically there's not a whole lot of story. It's more about a mood, a vibe, and really Nicolas Cage is just doing the heavy lifting. You're just watching this movie to see him act. That's kind of the what this is, so we'll really have to dive into it in spoilers. But before we get there, how do you feel about the directing? This was Michael Sarnowski. It was his directorial debut, so it's his first thing, but it looked good. I think I had more issues with the plot than with the direction, but I think he did a fine job, honestly. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that would go with what I said about, like, kind of there was like a screen presence, and there were like things unsaid, and the way it was directed, I guess it helped portray that. Like, it was kept focused, and it didn't ease up. It was like, this is what's happening right now. Don't, like, stay focused. This is Nick Cage, or this is a scene with Adam Arkin, and it was a scene with Adam Arkin and nobody else, and it left no like breathing room. It kept you focused. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I would say, it wasn't amazing directing. It wasn't.
I think there was pretty much no CG, and the only CG I don't want to say that because obviously there's digital work done or whatever. There's no action scenes really in this, and the one action scene when a door kind of gets kicked in really stands out because it doesn't look great.
Yeah.
So there is that, but I mean, really and truly, this movie is about just one man's struggle. Really got to get into spoilers before they talk about it. But yeah, this movie is very slow. Like I said, it's not John Wick by any means. It's just a guy. It's a slow burn of basically following him around, being a detective more or less, and just kind of seeing what happens while he tries to get his pick back. But it's more of a character drama. It's more, again, it's slow. It's filmed really well. It's more about just watching Nicolas Cage do what Nicolas Cage does, and he really did a good job in it. And I do recommend it. Like I said, before we get into spoilers, I just want to get to the recommends or not, but I do recommend it. I think it's very much worth watching. Again, kind of should know kind of what you're getting into going into it, because again, halfway through, I kept expecting, him to pull out guns and start shooting, but that's that's on me because of what I was told and kind of my expectations going into it. But I don't think the movie deserves that baggage, because that's on me. So as long as you know what you get into going into it, I definitely think it's worth watching. You should check it out. It's very much the opposite of what I've been told Mandy is. It's very slow and and it's just a guy who has a pet pig that he loves that's kidnapped and he wants it back.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. It's very, absolutely.
And I'm just, speaking 2 seconds on the budget. This was $2.6 million movie. I have no idea. I assume Nicolas Cage got $1 million of it. I don't know where the 2.6 million went, because it's very small. There are a few different set pieces or whatever, so there are some different locations, but it's not a very expensive movie. It doesn't look very expensive, and
That's a very bloated budget for what it was. That surprises me.
Yeah, I'm not in Hollywood, so I don't know, how much this kind of stuff costs, but it doesn't look very expensive, but it does look good. I'll put it like that. It doesn't look cheap. It looks small. If you can understand the difference, it doesn't look like it's a low budget film. It just doesn't look like there's a whole lot to it. So I guess that's where the money went. But looks like it's made it back. Opening weekend was just under $1 million, and by now it looks like it's made pretty much all its money back. So anything it makes going forward and on streaming or whatever is going to be just actual profit. So I'd call this a success. I'm happy, that he's got another successful movie, and I hope it continues to do well, and hope the people listening to this podcast go check it out because of it. But yeah, so before we get to spoilers, final thought. Do you have any final thoughts? Do you recommend it? Any final thoughts before we hop into spoilers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You said that was your expectation because of the way you were told that it was kind of John Wick-esque, and you expected him to whip out guns. But I wasn't told about anything to compare it to. I just kind of came across it on my own, being a big Cage fan, and I remember reading about it somewhere. Cage is always interesting. I'll always check out what he does, even if it's... sometimes I know when to avoid it. I was like, pig! And I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out. And then I did start, in the middle. It seemed like it was building towards something. I also got that vibe. I didn't even have those expectations like you. It did kind of give off that vibe, like there was something more. And it just didn't go that direction, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hate it because of that. It's just I did start to get that vibe, and then it just didn't go that place.
Yeah.
Where it seemed like it was going to get some ultra violence, particularly a scene. But this ain't the spoiler section.
Yeah, like I said, there is a middle portion where I'm kind of WTFing, and like I said, I feel like it. I thought it was going to go one way, and I was kind of disappointed it didn't, but I was happy with the way that it did go. So if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Pig yet, check it out. All right, so from this point forward, we are in the spoiler section.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You
You can't handle the truth.
All right, we are in spoilers, so I'll let you start because my thoughts are all over the place about kind of my good and my bad about this movie. So I'll let you start off, and I'll kind of go from there.
I guess we should get into what was just recently, right at the end of the spoiler-free section. There is that scene in the middle where he goes into like, what is it, like a
Yeah,
club, like
the
what
Underground
is that?
Fight Club. What was that? I don't think it added anything to the story, and that's why I really thought it was going to some John Wick places because he was like an underground fighter, and
Yeah,
I
I
guess he
was
was like
like,
the best fighter, the super good fighter or whatever, and his name rung bells and everybody wanted to fight him. And then
but
he just comes in, gets his butt kicked, and like that didn't, I don't know, that part didn't work for me. I didn't understand what that was going for, what that was trying to say. I understand he was in a dark place or whatever, and I guess he lost his wife, so maybe he was fighting to get that out of his system, but it really didn't add anything to the movie. It just kind of confused it for me.
yeah, I don't know if he's like someone who he like, what I thought that was gonna be like explained, like what he did and why he's getting his ass beat, and why does he, I mean, it sort of added a layer. Like I dig that I kind of got, it's more of a, it gave you kind of an idea of more of who he was when he's just kind of like continuing. Well, he's just got like this blood on his face, and like he's got wounds obviously, and he just keeps going on like, I just want to find this pig kind
Yeah,
of thing.
just the whole. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just like, why did they, like, whatever, he just wrote his name on the wall, and then what, some like that short guy, midget, whatever that person was, just like came up and started beating the shit out of him, like, and he just took
Yeah.
it, and it was like, especially because Nick Cage is such like a tall guy, and just the juxtaposition, and it's like, why is he, like, what is happening here?
It had the Hotel Continental vibe from John Wick, where it was like a secret underground thing that only the people in the know knew about. And oh my gosh, is that Casey, or whatever his name was? So it's just, is that Carrie? So I just expected it to be like an underground fight club where he was like the best of the best, and he was on top for years, and that's why people were paying a whole bunch of money to fight him. And it's just like he gets his butt kicked for 2 minutes, and then that's that. I don't know. That scene didn't really land for me, and like I thought it was going to come back and go somewhere, but it really didn't.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Yeah, that's the weakest portion of the film. The whole, when he came to the city, and oh, have you heard of him? And oh my gosh, and blah 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 blah. And oh, he's a secret underground, blah blah blah. So I thought that was going to mean something. That's why I thought the kind of John Wick vibes it was had. But it's just that he used to be a super famous chef, and that's why people know him.
maybe something to do with like his wife, or something, because
Yeah.
did him, so him and Adam Arkin were married to the same woman at different times, is that what that was?
No, no, it was two different women. Yeah, so I guess their wives both died around the same time. Well, not died because obviously Adam Arkin's wife was still on the ventilator, or whatever. She tried to kill herself, and she was
Oh
just
yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
But I
Right.
guess once Nicolas Cage's wife did die, I don't know, kind of broke him and made him want to fight underground as a way to cope. And then eventually he just left and lived in the woods with a pig. And, I guess that's his story. He used to be a super famous chef, but he wasn't happy and his wife died and it broke him. And so he went to go live in the woods. And
Well,
that's
there
what
was
this movie about. I just feel like there was a better movie, It was much more
I think
interesting story with these characters than what was told. But sorry, go ahead.
that there was like, like, there's like the saying that like some things are better left unsaid. I
Yeah,
feel
show
like,
show not tell. Or,
yeah, I feel like that it tried to capture that, but it went a little bit like, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and that was the case kind of here, where it just did. There was a little too much unsaid, and there's a little too much ambiguity when there was already enough to begin with, and it was still enjoyable overall, and it kept you captivated. But then, even at there's some connection between Adam Arkin and Nicolas Cage's character that wasn't really, because Adam Arkin or whatever says to him, like, you did the right thing, there's nothing left for you here, it's good you moved out to the woods or whatever the hell. And it's like, well, how does he, like, so that, again, it was like, okay, yeah, he was a super famous chef and everyone knows him and they knew he just moved out to the woods with the pig. Like, again, like, why?
Yeah, I feel like this was a more John Wicky type film, but then they excised all the John Wick stuff out to make it a more serious drama. But it has pieces. You can see the gaps. It just, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing a lot of complaining because of how much it doesn't really make sense in the spoiler section. But just I enjoyed for lack of a better word, the vibe. I really enjoyed watching it. I feel like once you stop watching it and once you start thinking about the little things, it kind of falls apart a bit. But I enjoyed the ride while I was watching it. I put it like that.
I thought it was kind of cheesy when they like make the dad the meal, and I was just so weird for me to. I was like, there's a bit of a homoerotic vibe almost.
Mm.
It was like it was like, where is this? Like, not that that's a bad thing, but the way the movie was up to that point is like, this is a curveball and it's not working.
Yeah, I didn't really get the homoeroticism, but I did. I felt like it was like they were using his cooking as John Wick superpowers, where John Wick will walk in there with, a pencil and guns and knives or whatever and kill everybody. He walks in there with a spatula and, some fish and, a cutting board, and that's his power. He can speak to you through his food, and
that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. That's all I can get from it because it didn't. How are we going to get his back? I need everything on this list. I'm going to use everything on this list to get my pig back. And all the stuff on the list was just ingredients to cook a meal, And,
I thought he was going to poison him, to be honest.
Well, yeah, when he started choking, I was like, oh, did he poison it after a while? But no, he's just choked up because that meal was the exact meal that he had with his wife so many years ago. That was so beautiful. But I don't know. It just, like I said, once you start breaking it down, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But while I'm watching it, I enjoyed, just kind of putting that to the side and just kind of letting it wash over me. So,
yeah. There's a whole thing there where, like, there's such tension here. There was such tension at the dinner scene. And it was like, things are going to erupt and, like, somebody's going to die, They're going to end up in a fist fight or something. And then they just sat down and had a meal, and Adam Arkin got choked up.
Yeah, because Adam Arkin's character, he was played to be like a badass, an underground thug, and just one meal is gonna choke him up, and he's gonna appeal to a sensitive side, and that's what's gonna get the pig back. And actually, sorry, the pig is dead. It's just, I don't know. It just, again, thinking about it afterwards, it just that it didn't really work. Those things didn't work for me, but I don't know. I still enjoyed the film as a whole.
Yeah.
I guess as contradictory as that is, all the stuff I'm complaining about, I enjoyed watching it. But when you start breaking down piece by piece, it's just things don't really work or make sense for me.
Yeah. Well, sometimes there's like, you see it going one way and then it doesn't go that way. And you're kind of, you can be happy that it doesn't go that way because it's not so predictable. But then there's one where you just kind of gotta, give in to the audience's expectations and, like, give us what we want, Like, we wanted, like, if he's gonna get choked up, let him get choked up and then try to stab Nicolas Cage in the eye with a knife or something, Like, he seemed like the type of guy that would have been like, how dare you remind me of my wife, my almost dead wife or whatever, and like, do you think you can do this to me, a man of my reputation? Fucking he was a badass. You know, he's not going to take that shit.
Yeah.
But then he just started crying.
Yeah, I mean, I get, what they're trying to say is that he really did love his wife, and that's why he won't let her die, and he's, remorseful that, he did whatever he did to lead her to suicide, and that meal just brought it all rushing back. I can get that, but I don't know if the movie necessarily made me feel that,
No,
but
it
yeah.
didn't. I didn't even pick up on that, to be honest. You saying that now, I can kind of make sense of that.
Yeah, I had to kind of lay it out because I feel like, once he started eating it, it just, he's such a good actor. You can see on his face just bringing him back to that meal and oh my gosh and blah blah blah. That's why he had to walk away. But it just, I don't know, it was missing something to make me feel it like I should have. But yeah,
There was a missing ingredient.
Indeed. Okay, well, I mean that's pretty much the movie. It's not a whole lot to it. We've kind of, it's only 6 or so scenes, but yeah. So, do you have any final thoughts about Pig before we leave off?
Yeah, is he? I felt like there. Did you get a suicide vibe at the end?
I don't. I feel like it was a little. What's the word I'm looking for? Vague.
Ambiguous.
Ambiguous. That's the word. Because he did say, I'll see you Thursday, but at the same time, I don't know that I see him grabbing a gun and shooting himself, but it felt like
He's very distraught.
He lost his wife. He's been living in the woods for so long. The only friend he had in the world, his pig, is dead now. And
then we should touch on the big reveal that the pig isn't even doesn't even discover the truffles or whatever. It's in the trees.
Yeah, I'm guessing he was saying like he's been doing this so long he can tell where the truffles are at by the trees, which was whatever. He needed the pig for the companionship. So like going to what you were saying, I feel like if he did kill himself that night, I could see that happening. And if he did just decide to find truffles with his hands and get another pig and keep living, I could see that too. So I guess the ambiguity kind of leaving off, but. Yeah, you felt like it was. You felt like he was done. You felt like he was, checking out.
Yeah, I was pretty concerned. I felt like,
Yeah.
And I mean, we talked about Alex Wolff and how he was like okay, and he just did his job. But I feel like in that scene, like really him just being like taking that back seat and not really like. I feel like he really added, like it really made you, like really feel unsure.
Yeah.
Like he really helped to portray that. Like even it's like nobody knows what the fuck. Like even he was like unsure. I really felt like he was unsure.
Yeah.
And he wanted to chase after him, but he knew that he was like conflicted. He was like, I really want to like help him, but also what can you do?
Yeah. I don't know, because his character was just, I mean, he's been through the absolute ringer, and he was already broken to the point where he left society and just wanted to live in the woods by himself with his pig, and now that's taken away from him, so it's probably in a real dark place. I think the movie was trying to say that by going back to society and seeing, I guess, I don't know if that was his daughter or whatever girl in the bakery, and kind of seeing his old stomping grounds, maybe that was him trying to attach to life again, but I don't necessarily know if I see it that way. So I don't know. Yeah, I think, you may be right where it's just he was,
I feel
he said, I'll see you Thursday just as, to give him a little bit of peace of mind, but
I
could have been done,
I did get the vibe like he was done, but then also there's absolutely just enough ambiguity that it was like maybe, he's been through so much that he just is going to keep on trucking and be like, he's just so broken that he's like, and maybe to what you said, like him being back in society and maybe I don't know. Maybe there was some glimmers of hope there. I don't know.
Saying that, I do think it is a good ending for this film because if it was unambiguous, if we went through all that with him and then he went back to the his camp or whatever just to shoot himself in the head, I think that would have been so dark and bleary and just it would have left you with a bad taste in your mouth. And then if he would have went back and said, he would have been real chipper and cheery, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna get another pig, and we're gonna keep fighting the good fight. I felt like that would have been so fake, and it wouldn't have done his character any justice. So I think that this was a good way to end it, to where it is just dark enough and ambiguous enough to where you kind of, you don't know what's gonna happen next, and he doesn't either. So I guess that's kind of what the vibe is about.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I almost wanted a bit more. It's almost like you don't even know where he's gonna go. Like, is he gonna go back to his trailer in the woods? I mean, I guess, but even like, because he says he's just gonna walk. Is he walking? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it did. It did end, yeah, it definitely leaves me questioning what the heck he was gonna do, and I almost wanted to see a little more, but then that's a good thing.
But yeah, it leaves you wanting more. So, well, that is our review of Pig, 2021 Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just before we do, is there? I've been thinking like this entire time, and like it's almost like, is there? I don't think there could be like a sequel.
I don't know. I feel like with these kind of one-offs he's been doing, I think that's just the story he wanted to tell. I absolutely think, if it does make a bunch of money, they could pull a sequel out of it, but they could write something. But
yeah, well,
I don't know. I feel like it was good as is. I don't want them to just come up with a sequel just to make more money and just kind of extend the story. So if they had a really good script, I'd want it. But otherwise, I feel like I'm good as is.
There did seem like kind of what we're talking about, like holes and stuff. It's almost like maybe there's a bit of a lead off into it, a potential, like there's more to the story, and they don't want to tell it all yet. Even
maybe,
I don't know. I guess that's I guess ambiguity reigns supreme.
Indeed. Well, time will tell. All right. So before we head off into our send-off, again, this is My Movie Fix Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at My Movie Fix Pod. If you want to email in to mymoviefixpodcast@gmail.com. If you have questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, if you want your thoughts read on the podcast, feel free to email in. Brandon, where can people find you on the internet?
YouTube, podcast is on Spotify, anywhere you can listen to podcasts. We got an Instagram page that you can follow. That's the most active. We also have
what's the name of the Instagram?
It is SpacecloudE.
At SpacecloudE.
At SpacecloudE. SpacecloudE. If you find us on YouTube or Spotify, there at the description in the podcast, there is always a link to our link tree at the bottom where you will be able to find all the good links that were featured.
Indeed. All right, that's the SpacecloudE podcast, and again, this is the My Movie Fix podcast. So that's where you can find us. Thank you for listening. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers. If they don't like movie podcasts, lie to them. Tell them it's about something else. Get people to check it out. Yeah. All right. So for our final send-off, you are our guest. Is there something that brought you joy, something brought you some happiness, something you want to let the people know about to give them a little bright spot in their week?
I recently got into some yoga. I got a bit of I've got some chronic pain. I fractured a couple vertebrae in my neck there. I work for FedEx, so there's a lot of bending and lifting and a lot of sometimes you can not, even when you do lift properly, you can still be feeling it, and especially if you have some pre-existing injuries. I went on YouTube there and I looked up some yoga, and there's all types of yoga. If you're feeling some chronic pain or you just want to relax, you need a little more to relax because you have some stressful days, especially with the pandemic. Things have been highly more stressful. And
Oh yeah.
yoga has honestly, I used to do it probably, I don't know, 4 years ago now. And I'm kind of upset that I stopped doing it because it is very relaxing and just, it doesn't necessarily bring you joy, but it brings you peace of mind, which
Mhm.
brings you joy.
Yeah.
So that's my
Okay.
send off. That
All
is,
right.
go out and just YouTube some yoga. It's all right there. Yoga with Adrian. I don't know. She's very popular.
Yoga with Adrian. All right. Well, I'll link to it in the show notes. And if you're listening yourself and you've been dealing with similar issues and you want to give it a shot, Brandon definitely recommends it. So check it out. Maybe it'll bring you a little bit of peace as well. All right. And for me, it's football time. Very,
Hey,
very different, but I'm probably 3 or 4 years ago, I got into fantasy football, and I
right
was
on.
never a football person before that, never a sports person. I couldn't tell you the name of a team or anything like that, but something about fantasy football really just kind of gets me going. It's the keeping track of stuff and the gambling aspect of it. I'm in a couple like $25 leagues where you got to keep track, and I don't know. It's just I really enjoy fantasy football. I listen to like probably have 3 or 4 fantasy football podcasts, and I just and they come out multiple times a week because there's so much football news. So it's just like I don't know. It's exciting that this time of year is coming back again, and I can get back into fantasy football. So that's my send off. If you've never tried it, and if you're not really a football person, neither was I. I'm still not a basketball person. I can't do basketball for
I
nothing,
know.
but I really like fantasy football. So I'm excited that it's fantasy football season again. So yeah.
I used to do some fantasy basketball actually.
Indeed. Well,
So,
there are way more basketball games. So you got there's so much more keeping up to it than you can do with football. So that's why I
oh
never
yeah,
could really get into it. But yeah, if you like it, hop into it. So yeah, those are our send offs. Yoga with Adriana for Brandon, and for me, find a fantasy football team and maybe have some fun with it. But that's it for us this week. Again, you've been listening to the My Movie Fix podcast. This is Sterling, and I just got my fix.